everyone, it's Eddie, and today we're back for Confidential, but for more than that, we're back to talk about Will Byers. I'm here to talk about his possibility of having powers and his relation to the end of Stranger Things, because it starts with Will, so it ends with Will. So, first of all, I'm going to say that Will Byers having powers has always been for me a kind of a reach. So when I make this video, I'm making this video while being sure about what I'm saying. So if I'm wrong, I'm going to be bummed out, but I don't think I am wrong. I'm obviously going to talk about Byler at some point in this video, so if you do not like the ship, please move away. For the next few weeks, I'm going to talk about Stranger Things. I know that there's a lot to talk about, a lot I want to say about Elle arc as an independent woman, about Byler but in detail, and why I think it's canon at the end of season 5. And after that, volume 1 goes out, so I'm going to talk about what happens in volume 1 and my theories. So yeah, I'm going to talk a lot about Stranger Things, so if you want to subscribe, like, or comment, whatever, thank you, and thank you for clicking on this video. And now we can actually go and talk about this theory. So I don't think Will Byers having powers is such a new theory. It's not at all. What I want to bring in this video is a more precise way of explaining how it could happen. And that's why I'm actually standing up. It's because I need to stand on my ground. I need to be here, present, and absolutely sure of what I'm saying, because I won't lie, it can be rich in many points. So obviously, first, I'm going to talk about him having powers and how it could be handled. After that, I'm going to talk about what kind of power, how they came to be, and then how it could be used and how it could save the day. Because if I have to remind you, Nancy said, "He showed me things that haven't happened yet. I saw dark clouds spreading over Hawkins downtown on fire, dead soldiers, there were so many monsters, and they were coming into our neighborhoods. He showed me my mom, Ollie, Mike, and they were all probably dead." So first of all, the first point I want to make is Will cannot have any kind of powers. His powers, I personally do not want them to relate to 11 in some kind of way. I don't want them to have similar powers. I don't want them to look alike. I want Will's power to be deeply connected to the Upside Down. Well, I have to talk about The First Shadow, which is a play that is about Henry's backstory. So Vecna. Henry was taken as a young boy around the same age as Will and given powers. His DNA changed, and that's how he came to have powers. Will is taken in the Upside Down, kidnapped by Vecna by the hands of a Demogorgon. He fought for 6 days before being officially taken by Vecna, and then a vine went into his mouth and laid eggs in his body. So obviously when I talking about this, I also have to mention the essay part, the obvious metaphor and allegory of sexual assault. That is probably how Vecna gave Will powers. And if it's not at this point, it is probably during the season 2 where the Mind Flayer enters Will once again, with this allegory of sexual assault and this feeling of feeling it everywhere. Will has those powers given to him by Vecna or the Mind Flayer, and is weakened by the Mind Flayer to be able to use him as a spy. Now, this is without saying that he is going to be manipulated by Vecna, he's going to be taken by Vecna, and things will happen that are going to be terrible for him, and his memories about the Upside Down, his abuse, his bullying, and everything that relates to him. Will, in my opinion, using his powers like that could relate to him taking control of his own body again and fighting against Vecna, while using the powers that Vecna gave him to use him. Will is taking control of his body again, which is a kind of a relation to this allegory of sexual assault, of victims being able to finally find themselves again, to finally take control of who they are, and will not be stuck anymore in this case that they've been pushed through by their aggressor. So, this is my next point. Will being able to use the true sight, or being able to see through the Demogorgon's eyes, or from the creator's eyes in general. Why I believe that? We know that in season 5 there's going to be new shots of Demogorgons seeing through them. The shots are from the Demogorgon, but we also know with weird shots from Will, the fact that he sees visions, that he sees things, that those two could be totally related. So we can have the eyes of the Demogorgon, but why and where do they come from? Who is seeing them? Are we taking place of the Demogorgon, or are we being able to see from the Demogorgon's eyes, or whatever eyes they have, because I don't think they even have eyes, but you know what I mean. Obviously, when I talk about Will having power, it needs to be related to the fact that Mike is going to be the leader again, and they're going to create plans directly since episode 1 to be able to fight. We know from this shot that the access to the Upside Down is protected in a military base, and it is also in the library. This library has been a very, very important part of Stranger Things, but unconsciously. Well, not unconsciously, but as a little detail. Will was bought into the library by Vecna. Why choose this place? Why is this place so important to Vecna? So when I'm talking about using Will's power as an advantage and Mike leading again, it's probably because by episode 4 they already established that Will could be a spy and that Will actually can use this against Vecna. But also, I do believe that Mike is very optimistic, and he thought that his plan was actually maybe could not be going wrong, and he did this, and they trusted him, but it cannot control everything. This is why we have this line of 11 saying that this is not a campaign, and he cannot write the ending, because at the end of the day, even if you try to prepare for everything, some actions can be surprising. Like, oh, Will is taken again by Vecna. Wow, your plan really worked. I'm continuing with the true sight and using it as their advantage. As I said, I talked about Nancy's Nancy's speech when she's talking about what Vecna showed her, and it was that Demogorgons happen to go and spreading over Hawkins. This is Eddie from my own bathroom, and I am here to talk about the new shot that I just saw after filming the video. So we see Karen in episode 2, I'm 100% sure it's episode 2, in her bathtub, underneath the water, protecting herself from a Demogorgon that is trying to find someone, and he's destroying the bathroom. Here, what probably happens is that he's trying to find Holly, because the episode is called The Vanishing of Holly Wheeler, and everything that I've mentioned after, I don't know exactly when I'm going to add that in the video, but Karen is going to be badly injured. Nancy will find her well. He sent a Demogorgon to find Ollie. All of this is, in my opinion, to set a vision to Will, or Will to be able to sense that there's a Demogorgon in town, and that is realizing it and finding it with powers, or with the introducing of the true sight and the fact that Vecna can make him see things, and then later on in the season being able to see things through the eyes of Vecna or through the eyes of the Demogorgons himself, after learning that if Vecna can do it, he can too, because he's relating to the hive mind. And the plan is going to be for them to enter the military base, to enter the Upside Down. Problem is, this was probably all a trap for Vecna to lure Will into the base, for him to be able to reach Will and to take him again. And this was probably all a trap, and this was also Mike's plan, probably, so he's going to feel very bad. We also have this shot of Nancy cleaning her hands at the hospital. We know it's the hospital because the soap dispenser is the same as the one that is in Max's room. That's why we know it's kind of relating to that. And why I'm talking about this, I really do believe that at this moment, Will kind of had a vision, or is sensed something, either given by Vecna or by his own power, and because of that he was able to sense that quickly they had to save someone. but they probably were too late. Now, my theory about the tunnel being used as a way to move around is from this picture where they have a shovel. So basically, they're going to dig again, just like happened in season 2. And they have to go around the military, going around town, and 11 could not just go outside and into the Willow's house without caring, without a care in the world. She would have been seen and she would have been taken. And it's needed that they have a path for them to go through to not be seen at all, because all their plan is against the military. So they cannot just go around in front of the military. Okay, this is to be established. But also, why do I think he has powers? In season 5, we jump directly into action, and he already had true sight. He could already feel the upside down by touching his neck. And, well, not by touching his neck, but he feel this dread all over him, like being in a roller coaster. This theory about him having powers is kinda all over the place, because everything can be explained by the fact that Vecna uses him, and by the fact that Elle can see through things. She can go into people's mind, and she also probably can go into Henry's mind, or Vecna's mind, whatever you want to call him. So, and she could also go into Mrs. Wheeler's mind or Holly's mind to verify that everything is okay, and then realize that, oh, something's happening, we have to go. That is a possibility. Why I'm thinking it's Will anyway, it's because he's the main character of season 5. He's the main character of the story, but he's the main character of season 5. We are going to see him being in the middle of everything. Is the key of season 5, and he would not be the key of season 5 if something was not happening to him in season 5. We know that in season 5 is a victim, is always been a victim, obviously, but we know that in season 5 especially is going to be targeted by Vecna, with what happens at the end of the episode 4, where he's taken by Vecna, and then after that in volume 2 probably passed out or completely taken by Vecna, or in a memory.
I just thought about something. Let's say that Will is actually in a memory, and this is the thing, like with the time shifting in Hawkins, and this still shot with the door. What if they managed to make Will come back, and Will explain to them that he was stuck in a memory, and therefore Max is probably also stuck in a memory.
I'm going to move on with the true sight and go around with Will as the cleric, with the paladin and his story, his relations to memories, and also powers. We know that the upside down is a metaphor for a deeper thing than just supernatural plot. This has to be understood. Him as a character of D&D being directly linked to a cleric that has powers is also not just like that. For example, we can take Mike's character being the paladin and being the one who leads the party, the one who is a knight, the one who he's here to protect, and we know that he's taking back his role in season 5. So why Will not take his role in season 5? Will and Mike are linked through their characters in D&D more than Dustin and Lucas does. Lucas and Dustin, we barely hear them talk about their own characters. We barely have anything about their own characters of D&D. But Mike and Will, though, we do have a lot about their characters, about Will being a cleric and Mike being a paladin. But we also know from an image shared by the Stranger Things writers back in the days, this image. Does it make you think about something? Yes, clearly this is a paladin and this is a cleric.
And to add to that, we know that Holly has a relevance to the Upside Down because she saw something in season 1.
Holly is probably the blonde girl, while Mike and Will are the paladin and the cleric. They're fighting a red monster, just like they're fighting a red monster in Will's painting. All this is kind of relating to each other. I do think at some point, Mike, Ollie, and Will all be in the Upside Down at the same point. Now, is it happening during the time that Will is passed out or after that? I don't know. Why is it relating to his powers? Because this is a video about Will's powers, obviously, so we have to talk about this. Will's connection to the Upside Down is probably way deeper than we think so, and even our theories are probably not as deep as the show is trying to tell us. And this is kind of relating to my last point of Will being able to change the fate of what is about to happen in Hawkins and in the world if it didn't have those powers. We know from this that is probably a clue that he has a kind of relation to Holly. We know from this shot that Mike gives Holly a cleric and he tells her that it's here to protect her. Who is also a cleric and who is also potentially having power and who also is targeting by Vecna? It is Will. Wow, good thinking. All of this about D&D, all of this relation to D&D in season 5 are not here to be pretty. It is all making sense. Their characters are kind of coming to life. And that's really why I think that Will be able to have true sight, but not only that, but to be able to control the Demogorgons and the creators of the Upside Down. He is a part of the hive mind, like Vecna is a part of the hive mind. If you touch a vine, Vecna feels it just as much as the Demogorgon feels it. So we know that Vecna is an undead creature who has an undead army, and the only way to kill Vecna is to turn around his own army against him. How could we do that? How can we turn the Demogorgons, how can we turn the creators against Vecna? Unless Will is also connected to the Upside Down and the hive mind and has this possibility of taking control of his body again, but also taking control of the Upside Down. Obviously, what I'm saying is only a theory, and we can find many other things to disprove it. I mean, we're here to talk about Will's power and Will's memory and Will's importance in the story. But how so? Why do I think that Will doesn't have only the true sight power, but more than that? In the trailer, they're making us think that the one who's creating this red energy and then the blue energy is 11, because she's pushing like that, with Hopper behind her. But this is not the case, because just after we have a scene with Hopper, and looks like someone beside him, looking at this energy, whilst they are close to the end of Hawkins and the end of the Upside Down. And because of that, we know that something else provoked that light, that first turned red and then turned blue. And whose power is blue? Obviously, D&D. Will, his characters, his cleric, has blue powers. This is why I think he also have way much more powers than we might think of. The problem with this theory is that it could very be too far stretched, and the actors acting must be on point. And we know that the actor, Noah Schnapp, had a problem with his acting towards supernatural plot and all of this thing. So he asked a coach for help. He had already played around with the supernatural plot in some kind of way. So I don't think this time it is going to be a similar way as it has been before. It is a new way of seeing supernatural plot. It's a new way of having supernatural into the story. That also makes me think that actually Will is having powers, and the actor Noah Schnapp, and I do not support the cast in any kind of way, is also probably admitting that Will has powers and he didn't know how to handle that because that's the first time it happens for him. Will has to find himself again, find control again, and how can he do that if he's sad and rejected? But also, how can he do that if he doesn't have any powers? How can he save the day if he doesn't have any powers? If everything that he had with the Upside Down, True Sight, and whatsoever, how can this happen if he doesn't have any powers relating to the Upside Down? How can he save the day? How can he break it off? And how can he push Vecna away as a symbolism of taking control of his life again if is either sad, rejected, and have no powers? Yeah, Season 5 is here to show that Vecna is stronger than any other time. It's here to show that Vecna is not here to laugh. So how can they save the day if Will is not in it? Let's recap. She says that haven't happened yet, but happened in Season 5. Dark clouds spreading over Hawkins downtown is happening. Happened at the end of Season 4. Dead soldiers, there were so many monsters. The attack at the base in episode 4. They're coming to our neighborhoods. This is probably the moment where Karen is getting attacked. Is it happening in volume 1 when I talk about Will being able to see that it's about to happen and they try to save her with Elle in Willow's house? Holly is going to be taken by Vecna. So, how are you going to do it? How can we save Holly? How can we save Mike? Probably Will having powers. This is why I'm saying it. I'm continuing saying this. Obviously, Elle having powers is also important. I'm just focusing on Will because this is the theory about Will. Like, that's why I'm talking about Will. So now, I'm going to end this theory about Will having powers by talking about how he could save the day. I talked about how Will taking over control of his body is very important and a metaphor for the Upside Down finally living, finally being destroyed. And I already talked about them probably going to find Holly in the Upside Down, like foreshadowed with this, and also this line that says, let's create a party, just you and me. I think that's the line. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm going to put it here anyway. Just you and me. There's a lot of foreshadowing with what is going to happen, and we know that love saved the day. And I said it in my last video about Byler and homophobia in Stranger Things fandom, that how can he save the day if his heart broken? His love with Mike is probably going to get reciprocated, and Will giving finally the confidence enough to break off Vecna's control over him, and will be able to reveal a part of them that is bigger than expected. As we know, this is a coming of age story. It's for the characters to accept themselves, and even if the ending is bittersweet, because characters are going to die no matter what, will feel this immense relief and this immense love that is going to be able to break him off from Vecna. And because of that, his powers will be revealed so much stronger than it happens before in the previous episodes. So like I said, Vecna is a creature of the undead and has an undead army. So the Demogorgons, the Demobats, and the Demodogs. We don't know yet if there's a new monster. I don't know, we'll have to see. But how can we turn that against him? Like I said earlier, if Will doesn't have the power to control the hive mind too. In my theory, unless the characters accept who they are, the Upside Down cannot close. It will repeat all over again because Vecna is using those sad memories, is using everything that puts them down for the worst. Just like Nancy is saying in the trailer. His, I don't know exactly the exact quote, but she's saying that you won't stop unless every last bit of suffering is taken. For me, to conclude this video, the Upside Down is for real a metaphor of all his unresolved trauma, of his unresolved abuse and bullying. I just have to remind people, by the way, some of the script from season 4 came out, when he's arguing with Mike in Rinkomania, he thinks is worse in the day when he argued with Mike. And it says, heartbroken, and he hates himself for this. Will, in season 4, even though it's not showing that much maybe on screen, maybe people don't recognize that, as a deep betrayal of himself. He feels like a mistake and he doesn't feel deserving of love. So why prove that right in season 5, and how is it going to help the plot advance? If this is all a metaphor, then the only way for Will to break out of it is to use what hurt him to fight against it and taking control of them. Again, we know he has a connection to the hive mind, so he'll have to take control of the hive mind, and taking control of the Demogorgons, and putting an army against Vecna. This is my idea of what is going to happen. This is my theory. It's kind of all over the place because it's kind of hard. Everything relates to everything. Everything is linked to everything, and I did not know how to articulate it better than that. And I hope you liked this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great day, night, whatever. Goodbye.